Peace. Welcome again to the Black Present. This is Kasabez, your host, Kasabez Makama. Welcome back again. And the Black Present is covering the present Black civilization, the present legacy that we are still building for ourselves and for the world. Black civilization, uh, as it has existed since times immemorial in Africa. Um, Today, we're going to be talking a little bit about this coronavirus and what we should be seeing now as a wake up call. Now we're seeing how much, just from a virus that really isn't particularly um, that much worse than what we're used to dealing with. Honestly, we're seeing the global panic. We're seeing the panic of individuals on such a mass scale who have been, really just scared of, the potential death from this. And, yes, there is a danger. There's a virus that's out here killing people, or let's say people are dying who have been infected from the virus. We could put it that way. It will make more sense. To say the virus is killing people would be to say that there's no other factor involved, that this person would not otherwise be dying. Well, to be honest, we don't know if that's always the case. Um, but that's not our topic at the moment. What we're seeing is that schools have shut down, cities, countries have shut down, major events have shut down, sports have shut down. So much in our societies have shut down, to a point where uh, people aren't sure if they're going to be able to continue to, sustain themselves. How are they going to work? How are they going to get food? Are they going to have to rely on government benefits for their lives? How long are these lockdowns going to last? First, we're told, oh, they're going to close the schools for a couple of weeks. Then we're told, oh, but they're going to close down the restaurants and bars for a couple of weeks. Then they're told, okay, shelter in place for a couple of weeks. Now, what was started as a April 2nd, shelter in place, deadline. Now they've extended that to the end of April. Um, let's say, here in the Chicagoland area. Other places I've heard LA is there, they said at least until mid-May, they're going to be shut down. Now, the question is, why is this virus so hard for our society here to deal with? And I was on talking a little bit a couple days ago about the fact that you can see in places in the world where there's more, people are more living according to their traditional indigenous ways of life. Places like Africa, places like South America, places like Indigenous Australia, different places in the world where people are living naturally, living off the land. These kind of places are not showing these high rates of the pandemic spreading. Now, they're not showing these high death rates like we're seeing in places like New York, like we're seeing in Italy, like we're seeing in UK, um, like we saw already in China. We're not seeing these levels of problems happening in indigenous areas. So the question is, why in our so-called modern developed first world countries are we seeing that something like this has become so overwhelming for us to a point where we don't know how long it's going to take us to deal with it? Isn't that proof that our systems are failing us? The fact that, you know, we have these huge vulnerable populations, people who are 60 and up, people who have these pre-existing conditions, people who are on many different, medications, pharmaceutical drugs, uh, are in such a vulnerable state to where something that, the normal healthy person is going to be able to kick, without barely noticing anything different from a regular flu bug, or a different, or even just a cold. why some people are dying from this in huge numbers. Why, is this happening to where we are in such a fragile state in our modern societies, so-called advanced societies? You see, isn't that a reason enough nowadays we should, take a moment to think what's really happening and why? And again, for us, we mostly seem to be in such a uh, dependent state on the modern governments for our survival, for our basic daily needs, for our basic, luxuries, whatever we need. If we need heat for our houses, we need food for our kitchens, we need, clothes for our families, we need shelter, whatever. We need to depend on our governments and the social structure to provide it for us. Now, when the social structure here today, like we see, is collapsing, what alternative do we have to stand on in order to um, give ourselves some stability? You see, it's a question I've been asking for a long time. It's a question that, and the writing has been on the wall for a long time, that we are in a very vulnerable state, in a very, yeah, let's just say vulnerable situation here. And at any moment, the rug can be pulled out from under our feet, and we'll see, that we're living in a house of cards. And what we're seeing is that house of cards now falling. Um, I wanted to share, because I've been studying the indigenous traditional uh, African traditions, African spirituality, African culture for, over 15 years now. And it's something I really put my life into. And while I still live here in the United States, I have something, at least a basis of knowledge, a basis of understanding that is allowing me to be in a more secure place, to be in a more stable place than what I see around me, as far as within myself mentally, and as well as physically, with my health, and, understanding that, if I get sick, I know I can handle it. Even people around me get sick, and I know I will have some means to be able to assist people around me, where at the same time their doctors are telling them, well, there's nothing we can do, just stay home. You see? So I want to talk a little bit about this. In indigenous societies, and any indigenous society, there's a fundamental understanding that seems so basic, but, for some reason escapes us somehow in the modern system, which is that a human being ourselves is a part of nature. We human beings are a part of nature. That means that we, belong to nature. Nature is what has given us life. Nature is what has, that nature has its rules and laws that govern it, that we have to follow in order to survive. You don't go jumping off a building and expect to survive, because it would be against natural law, you see. So as a human being in nature, you'll see, for example, anyone who's traveled to, these so-called third world countries, people are scared of getting malaria, and they'll tell you when you go there, don't drink the water, you'll get sick. Don't eat the food, or make sure, whatever conditions your food needs to be in order to eat it to be safe eating. Um, all these different warnings about diseases that you may get when you're in these different places. Somehow, if you notice, you go to these places, and guess what? There's people living there, drinking that same water they're telling you not to drink, eating the same food they're telling you not to eat, and doing all the things that they're telling you not to do, getting bit by the mosquitoes and everything. And all that without taking the malaria pills, without taking different vaccinations that they tell us to take when we go over there. Now, how is it that people who are living in these areas are able to survive what we cannot survive? And the answer is clear. They are born in nature. They live in nature. They survive in nature. Their bodies are adapted to nature. Here in, the so-called developed world, we find ourselves in a situation of being, kind of in a bubble where everything is sanitized, and so on, so that our bodies are not exposed to um, different germs, different viruses, or what have you that could make us sick. And so what happens is our bodies don't become resistant. We have this term called the immune system. What is the immune system? People think about I mean, the way we talk about it is almost like, you have your hand, you have your face, you have, your stomach, you have your liver, and somewhere in your body you have an immune system. I mean, it's not really like that. The immune system is just a way of saying that, your body has the ability to resist whatever may be attacking it from outside, or even from inside, from things, whatever we might be consuming. So whatever might be attacking the body has a resistance to it. That's what the immune system really is. And what strengthens the immune system is what strengthens the body. What strengthens the body strengthens the immune system. It's the same. The same energy that you'll need to fight a disease, an illness, is the same energy that you need to get up and walk around, run down the street, cook dinner, exercise, play ball, talk, whatever. You see, that's why when we get sick, we end up being tired, because we need to reserve that energy to fight the illness. You see, so it's pretty clear logic. We don't need some scientists to build some kind of a microscope on a wire to go inside your ear to look around and see where the immune system is. That's really, it's really a barbaric way of trying to prove something that logically you don't need to do all that to prove, to understand. You see, um, living in nature, living as a part of nature, you become resistant. And living in a natural way means that you're eating natural food, you're breathing natural air, you're drinking natural water, which here in the modern world we aren't doing. Foods we're eating are processed, bottled. We don't even drink water that comes from a natural source anymore at all. You have to get it either from your tap, which has been fluoridated and chlorinated and has all types of residues from the pipes, whether that might be metal, copper, uh, plastic, PVC, that is toxic to the body. And uh, then on top of that, we have, the food, the prepackaged food with all the chemicals and preservatives to make it have a long shelf life, all the genetically modified fruits and vegetables that we're eating, animals with the pumped with hormones to grow double the rate in half the time, so that they can be, packaged and put in your grocery store, for you to get and sit on the shelf for however long it needs to sit there until you buy it, and it won't go bad and make you sick when you eat it, but it's making us sick anyway. So the question is, how long do we give ourselves to be relying on a system like this, which has no interest in our well-being, which is, using us to the last drop, squeezing us to the last drop to get everything out of us in the workforce that it can, and then throw us into a nursing home like a orange peel. You see, like when you squeeze a lemon, you want to juice a lemon so you can make your lemonade, and then what happens to the peel? That's what they do to the elders. You're nothing but a statistic. You're nothing but a human resource, human capital. You know what capital, when they say human capital, that capital is just money. You see? So that's all we're considered to the system. And to the people like Bill Gates who keep talking about they want to vaccinate the world so that they can protect us from COVID-19, from coronavirus, and so on and so on. Bill Gates could care less about you and me and if we're okay, because if they care so much, these billionaires care so much, why are they hoarding their billions of dollars? You want to be the richest person in the world, and then you say you want to care and give back 0.5% to charitable causes so you can seem like a hero. Come on. So really, I just want to share this, and I want to share that as part of the Earth Center, as a student of Master Naba Lamusa Morodini Big, there's certain information that we get from the temples in Africa, certain divinations that we get. And we recently received a divination which gave us, some guidance that was released to the public recently. And I wanted to share something from that divination for you guys to think about. One second while it loads. So, for those who aren't familiar with divination, it's really a way of tapping into the unseen, tapping into, let's say, let me put it this way, communicating directly with beings that are higher than humans. So whether, I'm not trying to sell anyone on a belief system, but I'm just sharing what we receive from these divinations. And for anyone who has questions about that, I'd say just contact us directly, and we can share more about that. But this is what that divination said. This is from 2018 in February, so just over 2 years ago. The reality of a promising future of your modern society has come to the point where its leaders are going to have to surpass their egotistical lies and fake sentiments of power and evolution to learn how to return to the indigenous ways of life of the people that they called savages from the so-called third world countries, and apologize. We are going to give you, our children, words of power. Only those who know how to apply it well will have the protection and benediction of Mother Nature and her powers. These upcoming years will mark the beginning of the affliction of nature's retaliation due to your new and immature ideologies. The ancestral spirit and the deities are angry. They'll be cleansing what and who have been standing in confrontation with the natural and divine orders. And for those for those of you who will ignore this warning, let us be the first ones to wish you good luck for managing to pick Mother Nature as your enemy. So this is from 2 years ago. I just want to say that, a lot of people have been saying that the modern governments and corporations and things like this, that they're the ones behind what's happening nowadays, what's happening with this virus. I want to bring this idea into question right now. No doubt you will see these politicians, corporate leaders, and so on, finding different ways to try to capitalize on what's happening, as they always do. Capitalize on human suffering, capitalize on human fear, capitalize on human desperation. But to give them credit for planning all of this out, I can't quite say I believe that to be the case. Nature itself has its will, nature itself has its consciousness. And we're seeing nature express itself now. Life and death are all part of nature, part of a natural sequence. So, for those of us who are interested in survival, I'm calling on everybody who's listening, please give this some consideration. Um, Harmonize yourself with nature. Try to live as much a natural life as possible. I know it's hard here in the West, but at least give yourself some effort. Take some effort to reharmonizing, reconnecting yourself with something that pre-exists these modern ideologies, these modern, governments, these modern scientific institutions that are rapidly, as we can see, leading us towards our destruction. And really invest ourselves in reclaiming what we used to be when our ancestors used to live in harmony with the earth itself, understanding that we ourselves as human beings are not different. We are not, we're not different from the nature around us. I had this, I've taken a lot of road trips. I don't fly a lot. I've taken a lot of road trips over the years, and I drive through a different kind of natural settings, mountains, forests, so on. And it's always this interesting kind of disconnect that I experience. Because on one side, I'm saying, wow, it's so pretty. But on the other side, I have the feeling like I'm only looking at it from the outside, from the isolation of my vehicle as I pass by. So I don't really get the experience of being in that nature. And for me nowadays, it's very rare to feel like, I'm invested, I'm really connected. I'm really inside of it. I'm really part of it because I'm in my house, I'm on my computer. So, me myself, I'm coming to the realization that I need to refocus myself and invest in myself on my survival skills. That survival skills in nature are paramount importance, because if someday you can't just depend on the grocery store to supply you food, period, or maybe you decide that the food that you're getting from the grocery store, you don't trust where it's coming from, you don't trust it to be a source of sustenance for yourself. Um, we have to know how to produce food for ourselves. We have to know how to, if I had to get up today, it's riots outside. People are robbing each other's, going door to door, robbing people of their. So if somehow, we end up in an emergency situation, are we going to be able to drop everything and leave and hit the woods somewhere and be able to survive just off the land? Who really knows how to just build a fire or a shelter out of natural materials? You see, these are the questions we should be asking ourselves right now. Um, and in addition to that, which kind of knowledge are you investing in, which will, put you in harmony with not only the natural world, that you can see, the physical natural world, but also the spiritual world that we are, coming from. Uh, for those who may think that such a spiritual world doesn't exist, let me just say that for very, very many thousands of years, people have been operating on this understanding that a spiritual world exists and have been investing in how to even interface and communicate and, let's say, fit in harmony with that non-physical side of existence. And my question is, what are you doing for your own spirit? So that, because everybody right now is scared of this idea of dying from a virus. And my message to you for that is this: however it may sound, the fact of the matter is you are going to die. Just like me. How and when, we don't know. But when it happens, if you think maybe after you die that this isn't all, that it's not over, just as, again, thousands and thousands and thousands of years people have understood that it's not over, then what are you doing in this life that will prepare yourself for the next step after this life? Instead of being worried about a death that is going to happen sooner or later anyway, let's also be concerned with centering ourselves with values, principles that are going to lead us towards the future that we want for ourselves in this lifetime and the next. Again, best wishes to all of you. I'm wishing everybody be healthy. I'm wishing everybody be safe in these times. It's really, a challenging time to be in. It's really a confusing time to be in that we're living in. And as we day to day attempt to navigate this time, I'm wishing everybody clarity of mind, honesty within yourself to ask the questions that need to be asked about what your priorities in your life need to be right now. All right, take care.